Despacito, Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee, and artist of the month, Justin Bieber. So, somebody whose Twitter handle is Indian says, good that you've clarified the locals are running. We need to curb public hysteria. Precisely the reason why Sachin Kalbag is on air right now. Then Mohit Vaishnav says, forced to drive to work by family amid speculation that Mumbai locals might shut. Hardly any traffic on the roads. Drove from Ville Parle to Worli. So there are some advantages if you're on the road. A last leg of conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
Now the in term it seems to be social distancing. I mean, it was used in the film Contagion, and it's so true to life today. It's almost as though it's preempting this. And social distancing is so hard in India because of the population density across districts. And there's a very important piece in the Hindustan Times today. I leave you to lead us through it.
So, so we did an analysis. Our data team in Delhi, Abhishek Jha and Vijdan Kavusa, they collaborated and using public data, which is World Bank data and census data, figured out what is the density of population in India compared to other countries which are facing similar issues, and why it is more and more difficult for the social distancing to be implemented. Now, you and I, in an office environment, can possibly implement social distancing because it's fairly easy to do, because your cubicle may be farther than 3 feet away. But in the case of poor people, in the case of people who are traveling on the walking on the road, they're in their homes, we realize that because of the high population density, and India has the second highest population density after Bangladesh. Bangladesh has 1,240 people per square kilometer. India has 455. Compared to that, China, which has the world's largest population, and India has the second largest population in the world, China's population density is only 148. So clearly we are 3 times more densely populated than China, because obviously the space. So what we found in our analysis was that in households, persons per sleeping room is one of the parameters that we looked at. In the poorest of households in India, 31.7% have 2 people per household per sleeping room. But in the poorest category, nearly half of the poor people have more than 3 people per sleeping room. So where can you implement social distancing there? Among the richest also, 14.5% of the population has more than 3 people per sleeping room. So clearly this is a big issue. It is not about only the rich people or only the poor people. It's across categories.
Also as a culture, addressing that even privileged people are 3 to a room, is that co-sleeping and cohabiting is part of our culture.
Part of our culture. Also, children do not have their own room sometimes. In the US and some Western countries, it's enforced that children are considered as grown human beings from the beginning, and they should have their own rooms by law in certain areas. But in India, obviously, there's no such law, and children tend to sleep in the same room as their parents. 1, because of lack of space, and 2, because they think that they need the parental security through the night, just to feel safe. So it's a cultural issue. It's also an economic issue. So there are these multiple issues that are coming here. So given the density, it is going to be really, really difficult to implement the social distancing protocol that the World Health Organization has suggested. But let's see how it goes, because at least in public areas where it is possibly you will possibly be able to implement this, we could do this.
Let's sign off with the fact that the judiciary is going to work through as much as they can. High Court working hours are 2 hours per day, and lower courts in Maharashtra will work a maximum of 3 hours a day.
So this was again taken into consideration about a couple of days back. So what happened was that the high courts have decided, and the high courts are the deciding authority for Maharashtra. The Bombay High Court is the deciding authority for Maharashtra, and the Goa bench of the High Court. So they decided that the higher courts, which is the Sessions Court and the High Court, will be working for only 2. The Bombay High Court will only be working for 2 hours a day, and the lower courts will be working for a maximum 3 hours a day. Only the most essential cases will be taken up, and the rest will be postponed. If you're a litigant, or if you're a person who's defending yourself, if you're not able to come to the court will not take an adverse view of that, and the case will be postponed to a further date. So don't need to worry about that. Only the most essential cases will be taken up. So the High Court and principal seat of Mumbai and benches in Nagpur, Aurangabad and Goa will take up urgent judicial work from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Starting today. And the other courts will be doing it from 11:30 a.m. To 4:30 p.m. Where the registry will work. So it's a curtailed operation kind of thing for the courts also. Let's hope it works.
Sachin, we're going to play it by the ear for next week. If one of us is self-quarantined, then obviously the session won't happen. We'll definitely see each other week after next, but next week we'll play it by the ear. Have a good one.
Thank
Healthy
you so
one.
much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mumbai.
Messages and back.